Imagine coming home after months of serving your country, expecting love, comfort, and familiar arms, only to be met with cold handcuffs, harsh accusations, and the one person you trusted most turning her back on you. This is the story of how a returning hero lost everything in a single moment, only to discover a deeper truth, a stronger love, and a second chance at life. If you love emotional, romantic, and dramatic stories, make sure to subscribe to Black Inside 2.0. Your support helps us bring more stories to life. The airplane wheels touched the ground with a gentle thud, but inside my chest, everything felt like a storm. 8 months overseas, 8 months of counting down days, 8 months of rereading my wife Alina's messages, memorizing the warmth in her words just to keep myself going through the coldest nights. I had dreamed of this moment every single day, walking out of the airport, her running into my arms, the kind of reunion that makes people around stop and smile. Instead, when I stepped into the glowing evening lights of the city, the first thing I saw wasn't Elena. It was police lights. Blue and red splashed across the wet pavement, and people paused under their umbrellas, whispering, pointing, pulling out phones. I stood still for a moment, confused, clutching my duffel bag like an anchor. And then I saw her. Elena, my wife. She wasn't running to me. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't crying tears of relief. No, she was pointing at me, anger written across her face. "There he is," she shouted, and before I could take even one breath, an officer approached me. "Sir, we need to talk to you." I didn't understand. I couldn't understand. My mind spun like a compass gone wild. And then the words that would break me. "You're being detained for questioning." Detained, questioning, me. My world tilted. "Wait, Elena, what's going on?" I asked, my voice cracking. But she didn't answer. She just looked at me, hurt, furious, trembling. And for the first time in 8 months, I felt truly lost. Shattered trust. Nothing about the process was aggressive or harsh, but everything about it was humiliating and heartbreaking. The officer spoke calmly, respectfully. He didn't treat me like a criminal, just someone involved in something serious. But the whole time, I kept looking back, hoping Elena would stop everything and say this was a mistake. She didn't. Hours later, after questions, clarifications, and a whole lot of confusion, the truth finally came out. Elena had filed a report weeks earlier, claiming I had abandoned her financially, something that, on paper, looked concerning because of a miscommunication about our joint account. Nothing I did was wrong. Nothing was illegal. Nothing was intentional. But she didn't know that. She'd been struggling. Bills piled up. Messages I sent hadn't always arrived. Her stress grew. Her fear grew. Her doubts grew. And by the time the truth reached her, she was already drowning emotionally. I didn't know what else to do. She whispered later, her face buried in her hands. I sat across from her in a small conference room at the station, feeling a heavy ache in my chest. "Elena, why didn't you wait for me? Or talk to me first?" I asked softly. She shook her head. "Because I thought you didn't care anymore. You were slipping away." I felt alone, abandoned, forgotten, and I panicked. Her voice cracked, and for the first time since I landed, I saw the truth in her eyes, not anger. Not betrayal, fear, deep, desperate fear, and something inside me softened. But the damage was done. Trust broken, faith shaken, hearts hurting, and just like that, our marriage felt like a fragile glass figurine, beautiful once but now cracked and trembling. After the storm comes silence. I was released without charges. The officers apologized for the misunderstanding, and even Elena apologized through tears. But apologies don't instantly repair wounds. We walked outside together, but it felt like miles of distance between us. The city lights reflected in puddles on the street. People walked around us, umbrellas bobbing gently, unaware of the silent war happening in two people's hearts. Elena reached for my hand. I pulled it back, not out of anger, but confusion. "I don't know how to process this," I said quietly. She nodded, swallowing hard. We drove home in silence. The apartment felt like a stranger's house. Same walls, same furniture, but the warmth that once lived there had faded. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because she asked me to. Because I didn't know how to sleep beside someone who no longer felt safe in my heart. The slow work of healing. Days passed. We talked. A lot. We cried. A lot. We tried to understand each other. Elena admitted she'd been overwhelmed, isolated, and terrified something would happen to me overseas. "I couldn't lose you," she said. "So I convinced myself you'd already left me. It was the only way my heart could protect itself. It didn't excuse her actions, but it explained her pain. I admitted how much her reaction hurt me, not the mistake itself, but the lack of trust. We agreed on counseling, we agreed on communication, we agreed to rebuild, slowly, patiently, honestly. Some days were good, some days hurt worse than the first, but we kept showing up for each other, brick by brick, word by word, heart to heart, a letter she never meant me to read. One evening, weeks into our healing, I found a small envelope tucked inside my bookshelf while cleaning. My name was written on it. Inside was a letter, long, emotional, raw. Elena had written it months earlier. A goodbye letter. My hands trembled as I read. If you don't come home, if something happens, I want you to know I loved you more than anything. I was scared, I was angry at the world for taking you away. And I didn't know how to live without you. If I made mistakes while you were gone, please forgive me. I'm trying my best, but some nights I don't know how to breathe without you. Tears blurred my vision. She hadn't been angry at me. She'd been terrified of losing me. Her fear took the shape of defensiveness. Her loneliness took the shape of panic. Her love, wrapped tightly in anxiety, exploded in the worst way at the worst time. But it was love, twisted, wounded, desperate love, not hatred. I sat down, holding the letter to my chest. And in that moment, something inside me shifted, choosing each other again. That night, I found Elena sitting by the window, looking out at the city lights. I handed her the letter silently. She gasped softly. I never meant for you to read that. It was before everything. I know, I said. Her eyes filled with tears. I hurt you so much, she whispered, and I hate myself for it. I knelt in front of her gently, lifting her chin with my fingertips. Elena, people hurt each other when they're hurting. I'm not excusing what happened, but I understand you now. She exhaled shakily, her shoulders trembling. So what does that mean for us? She asked. That we don't throw away love just because it got lost for a moment, I said softly. We find it again. Her tears spilled over. You still want us, with everything in me, I whispered. She leaned into me, her forehead resting against mine, and for the first time since I returned, I felt her love without fear, without panic, without walls. Just love, real, raw, unpolished, human, rebuilding a love worth keeping. The following months were some of the hardest, and some of the most beautiful. We rebuilt trust through patience. We rebuilt connection through honesty. We rebuilt love through vulnerability. Slow Sunday mornings, late night conversations, weekend counseling sessions, love notes left on counters, hands reaching for each other again. We learned to communicate fears without blaming. We learned to express needs without attacking. We learned to love without conditions. And slowly, the cracks in our marriage didn't disappear, but they turned into something stronger. Just like gold-filled fractures in Japanese pottery, kintsugi, broken, mended, and more beautiful because of its history. Our love became that, and one evening, as we stood on the balcony watching the soft city glow, Elena wrapped her arms around me from behind. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For choosing us, even when we were a mess. I kissed her hands gently. Elena, love isn't about perfection. It's about staying. And we stayed. She smiled against my shoulder, and I felt something warm settle inside me. Peace, not the loud kind, the quiet kind that fills empty spaces. A new start, not a repeat of the past. A year later, on our anniversary, we renewed our vows. Just the two of us. Simple, private, heartfelt. This time, our promises weren't naive. They weren't dreamy or idealistic. They were real, grounded, honest. I promise to speak before I assume, Elena said, her voice steady. I promise to listen before I react, I replied. And together, I promise to love you, even in fear, even in doubt, even in the dark. When we kissed, it wasn't the kiss of two people who were perfect. It was the kiss of two people who had chosen each other despite imperfection. And that made it stronger. The life we built after the storm. We didn't erase the past. We grew through it. We made new memories, stronger ones. We started planning a family. We traveled. We wrote letters to each other every month as a tradition. We learned that love wasn't the absence of mistakes. It was the presence of forgiveness. People asked us how we survived something so painful. The answer was simple. We decided our love was worth fighting for. Not fighting each other, but fighting together. And that made all the difference. Thank you for listening to this emotional, heartfelt journey. If you enjoyed this story and want more romantic and dramatic tales that touch your heart, subscribe to Black Inside 2.0. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Your support keeps the channel alive and helps us bring more meaningful stories to you.